Baptism of fire. At dawn, after a meal of weak tea and hard rolls, we were issued additional ammunition and ordered outside. Feldwebels organized us into squads. Jacob, Oscar, and I were assigned to the 7th Platoon of the 14th Squad of the 4th Lanzer Infantry Division. There were 19 of us in the platoon, 1 medic, 15 recruits, and 3 veterans. A man named Dobelman, a Feldwebel, was our platoon leader. He sickened and terrified me. War had turned his face into something grotesque, hideous. He looked as though he were wearing a fright mask. He was missing one ear, and only a small flap of the other remained. His entire face was an impossible jigsaw puzzle of scars. As did most Feldwebels, he wore a whistle around his neck. He blew it. He ordered us into line and to attention, then commanded us to stand at parade rest. We slammed our rifle butts to the ground. Then, with a straight, rigid arm, each soldier held his rifle by the barrel at an angle to his right leg. Dobelman strode down our ranks, talking to us in turn. "Do I frighten you, son?" he demanded of one recruit. "No, sir," came the shouted response. "He's a liar, isn't he?" he yelled at the next boy. "Yes, sir. No, sir. I don't know, sir." "Yes, you don't know what you mean," said Dobelman evenly. He strode past several more recruits, staring each in the eye. He stopped next to me in front of Oscar. Oscar was so tall and skinny that Dobelman had to look up at him. Still, it was to him that he spoke directly, at the same time delivering a speech to the whole platoon. "I am not here to frighten you." His voice softened. "I am here to save your lives, and even your pretty faces." He attempted a smile. It came out crooked. "Do exactly as I tell you at all times. I cannot guarantee anything, except I will increase your chances of surviving this war. You are going to be facing men who are going to try to kill you. You must kill them first, to save yourselves and the men beside you." He stepped back a pace. He raised his voice. "And you are here to defend your country, for it is now we who are on the defensive. You are here to protect your parents, your brothers and sisters, your grandparents, your people, your Volk. They're depending on you. If the Bolsheviks, the Russian communist pigs, break through, then they will win the war, and horror beyond imagining will befall Germany, your whole homeland." He nodded. "That is all," he said. "Fall out." More trucks and other vehicles arrived. We prepared to board, awaiting the order. Another whistle squealed. Then the voice of an Obergefreiter, a lance corporal, bellowed, "Achtung!" 300 pairs of heels clicked together. Rifles clattered in unison as the entire company snapped to attention, ramrods straight. In the black uniform of the SS, an overweight, bespectacled officer made his way to the forefront and addressed us, his voice loud and high-pitched. "You will be reinforcing and resupplying the 15th Rifle Corps of the 4th Division at Tarnopol in the Soviet Union. The 4th Division has suffered heavy casualties, and battalion headquarters there remains under siege. For almost 3 months, we have held firm and repelled the Russian assaults, but our men are malnourished and running low on munitions. It is your job to help reinforce our troops there and to bring in badly needed supplies. Be alert at all times. Contingents of the Russian army and partisans will undoubtedly be encountered on the road ahead. Heil Hitler!" He saluted rather indifferently, then, hands behind his back, ambled off as if he were suddenly going for a walk, deep in thought. He stopped, turned, and looked at all of us. Then he spoke loudly. "And may God be with you." Our platoon climbed aboard the trucks. The canvas sidings were rolled up and tied, and benches were secured to the bed of the vehicle with steel support rods. Wooden crates of supplies went under the seats and in a line down the aisle between the seats. Dobelman and 2 other veterans climbed aboard, the 3 of them hefting a heavy caliber machine gun and long belts of ammunition. Behind the cab of the truck, the 2 set the weapon onto a rotating mount. The other trucks in the column were being similarly equipped. As they worked, arming and locking down the machine gun, I stared at the back of Dobelman's head. On the back of his scalp was a saucer-sized area where little hair grew. The skin was bright pink and wrinkled, and from the folds of the wrinkles sprouted a few black hairs and round, spongy-looking lumps of flesh. Looking at the man made me ill. I sat down on one of the hard wooden benches, averting my gaze from him. Jacob and I and some of the other boys exchanged glances, silently communicating our revulsion. I did not know it, of course, nor did any of us, that we would soon be seeing things 1,000 times worse. The convoy snaked across the landscape on rutted dirt roads. In the truck, we sat stiffly. All of us were about the same age except for Dobelman, who was manning the machine gun behind the cab, and the 2 other veterans. Sick with fear, we just sat there, rifles clamped between our knees, rocking with the motion of the truck. Rather than soldiers, we looked like prisoners condemned to death. The only one of our platoon who seemed unafraid was an athletic-looking boy named Meyer Fasnacht. I heard him say repeatedly that he looked forward to battle. To him it was all just a grand adventure. He seemed genuinely unafraid. Our truck carried crated supplies, as did many others. Some trucks carried no passengers, only munitions, piled high under heavy tarpaulins. At the front, rear, and middle of the convoy were armored vehicles, all equipped with 50-millimeter cannon. Our highest-ranking officers rode in Steiners, Jeep-like vehicles. Traveling alongside the trucks and armored cars were 2 motorcycles, both of which had a sidecar for a passenger, usually a veteran soldier, with a submachine gun. Though we saw no sign of the enemy, we did begin to see evidence of war, of battles and bombings. We passed through several small towns, most of them in ruins. Wrecked vehicles, both civilian and military, lay alongside the road. The oddest of these was a Mercedes-Benz convertible. It lay sort of sideways in a pool created by a bomb crater, its back seat filled with brown water in which a quacking duck paddled around. A few road signs changed from Polish to Cyrillic. We had entered Russia. Off to our right were low, humpbacked mountains. All else was unbroken flatland, much of it charred black. The air smelled of burned wheat, almost like overdone toast. A platter-faced young soldier sitting near the front of the truck got up the nerve to ask Dobelman about what we were seeing and smelling. He turned his jigsaw puzzle of a face in our direction. Before they retreat, the Ivans burn their fields, all their farms and crops, and butcher whatever livestock they cannot take with them. They leave nothing. "What is an Ivan?" a boy with rosy cheeks next to me asked. "A Russian," I told him. "But why do they call them Ivans?" I explained that Ivan was a common first name in Russia, but by the perplexed expression on the boy's face, I could see he was struggling with the concept. I tried again to explain. Again, he did not get it. His thick-wittedness annoyed me, and I did not explain further. But Rosy Cheeks was not done with me yet. "They also call them Soviets. How come?" he asked. I explained that Russia was part of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is a communist country. Russia is one of the so-called republics. "I don't understand," said Rosy Cheeks. "Yes, I can see that," I said sarcastically and leaned back and closed my eyes.